Welcome to Moon Mind. In this video, we're exploring a moment every one of us knows all too well. Someone swerves in front of you on the road, and suddenly your chest tightens. A colleague brushes off your idea, and heat rises to your face. Plans you carefully built fall apart, and something inside you cracks. We've all felt it. That instant when something takes over. When the urge to react, defend, or strike back feels stronger than anything else. Peace disappears, replaced by a surge of anger we didn't invite, and sometimes barely recognize. But here's what the ancient Buddhist teachers uncovered. The very people and situations that unsettle us most, the ones that trigger us, are not barriers to peace. They are invitations. They are teachers, offering lessons we cannot learn anywhere else. There's a teaching that says, no affliction is as destructive as anger, and no strength is as powerful as patience. Not because patience is passive or weak, but because it is the ability to remain steady when everything inside you wants to react. So if you're in a place where you can relax, maybe lying down, maybe wrapped in something warm, this is a good time to settle in. And if it feels natural, take a moment to notice where you are in the world. There's something quietly beautiful in realizing that people everywhere are searching for this same inner peace. To understand patience, we first need to understand what takes it away. And that journey begins with anger. There's a reason Buddhist masters spent centuries examining anger, not violence, not cruelty, but anger itself. That sudden surge. That flash of heat before thought. That moment when your vision narrows and your body tightens. Anger is unlike other emotions. Desire can mislead us. Pride can distort us. Envy can quietly erode our happiness. But anger does something more immediate. And more dangerous. It overrides judgment. In seconds, it can undo years of effort, years of kindness, restraint, and intention. A single moment of rage can damage relationships, careers, even lives. And the unsettling truth is this: anger doesn't knock on the door. It arrives unannounced, takes control, and leaves us wondering who we became. So the question the ancient teachers asked was simple. If anger is so powerful, where does it come from? And is it possible to stop it before it begins? What they discovered is surprisingly precise. Anger doesn't arise on its own. It depends on three conditions. Like a fire needing fuel, oxygen, and a spark. Remove even one, and the fire cannot burn. The first condition is contact. Something has to happen. An interaction, a moment, a situation where your world meets something external. Without that contact, there is nothing to react to. The second condition is interpretation. We don't just experience events, we interpret them. Someone stays quiet, and we read rejection. Someone forgets something important, and we see indifference. Someone succeeds, and we assume unfairness. These interpretations feel real. Convincing. Immediate. But often, they are shaped by our past, our fears, our expectations, our unresolved wounds. The third condition is habit. A pattern already living inside us. Some people have a quick path to anger, formed over years of experiences. Others lean toward anxiety, or withdrawal, or self-doubt. Imagine three people in the same situation. Someone walks past without greeting them. One feels insulted. Another feels anxious. A third barely notices. Same moment, completely different reactions. Why? Different habits. Different interpretations. Different inner landscapes. And here's the empowering part. If anger requires these three conditions, then there are three ways to interrupt it. The most immediate is creating space. Sometimes, stepping away from what triggers you is not avoidance, it's wisdom. It's giving yourself time to strengthen your ability to remain calm. The deepest level. Changing the habit itself takes time. Practice. Reflection. But the most accessible place to begin is with interpretation. Learning to see more clearly. Because when perception shifts, reaction often dissolves before it begins. Now look closely at what anger is really protecting. At its core, anger appears in just two situations. When something happens that we don't want. Or when something we want is interrupted. That's it. But what is it we want so strongly? Ancient teachings describe four powerful attachments. We want comfort and pleasure. We want gain, security, possessions. We want recognition, praise, validation. And we want reputation, to feel respected, significant. When any of these feel threatened, anger begins to stir. Watch your own experience. A cancelled plan, loss of comfort. Missed recognition, loss of validation. Unfair treatment, loss of status or control. Again and again, the same pattern. Our peace becomes tied to things outside us. And the more tightly we hold on to them, the more fragile we become. There's a deeper insight here. Every trigger of anger, no matter how complex, comes back to this. We've placed our sense of well-being in something we cannot fully control. Other people's behavior. Outcomes. Opinions. Circumstances. So when those things shift, it feels like something inside us is threatened. But what if peace didn't depend on any of that? What if it came from within? The teachings suggest two paths. The first is loosening our grip. Not rejecting pleasure, success, or recognition, but not depending on them for our stability. This grows from understanding impermanence. Everything changes. What feels urgent today may feel irrelevant in a month. What feels like a loss today may later reveal itself as a turning point. When we truly understand this, something softens. We still care, but we don't cling. The second path is expanding compassion. The more we genuinely care about others, the less consumed we are by defending our own narrow interests. A larger heart is less easily shaken. Together, these two paths, letting go and opening up, create resilience. Now consider what actually happens when anger begins. It follows a sequence. We become attached to an outcome. We expect reality to match that outcome. Reality differs. We resist that difference. Resistance becomes frustration. Frustration becomes anger. But there is a moment in that chain where everything can change. The moment of recognition. Seeing clearly. This is what is happening right now. Not what should be happening. Not what we wish were happening. Just what is. From that clarity, we can respond, rather than react. And as we become more aware, something important emerges. Our triggers are not random. They are reflections of old patterns, places where we once felt unsafe, unseen, or vulnerable. Anger is often a form of protection. But once we see the pattern, we create space. A pause. A breath. A choice. And in that space, we can begin to see others differently too. Think about the people who disturbed your peace. It often feels like they are targeting you. But look more closely. Most people are not acting out of strategy, but out of struggle. Like someone drowning, flailing in the water, not trying to hurt you, but trying to survive. The harsh words, the dismissive behavior, the careless actions, often they come from confusion, fear, or pain. This doesn't excuse harm. But it changes how we hold it. Instead of seeing an enemy, we begin to see a human being in difficulty. And from that perspective, patience becomes possible. Of course, our usual pattern still unfolds. We expect people to behave a certain way. They don't. Disappointment arises. And then comes the turning point. If we can acknowledge reality, without immediately resisting it, we remain grounded. But if we insist that things must be different, frustration builds. And frustration quickly becomes anger. This is where practice lives. Not in avoiding life, but in meeting it differently. Again and again. Recognizing what is happening. Seeing clearly. Choosing not to be pulled into the same reaction. This is patience, not passive endurance, but intelligent calm. A stability that comes from understanding. Because when anger takes over, it consumes everything. But when we understand it, when we see its structure, its causes, its patterns, we gain something powerful. Choice. And that choice changes everything.